Welcome to the March UN Info session. My name is Amanda Lowery, and I am with the San Diego chapter of the United Nations Association. The San Diego chapter was established in 1946 and promotes engagement with the United Nations through a local context by providing educational, advocacy, and other programs. So you can learn more about these programs on our website, unasd.org, where you can also view our previous UN Info sessions and watch them on our YouTube channel. So in this UN Info session, we are not only supporting and honoring March as Women's History Month, as well as the International Day of Women, but also gender equality as it relates to the workplace and in communities. So we are so lucky to have Dr. Hei-ock Kim, the founder and executive director of the Kim Center for Social Balance. Among many of her talents and outstanding accomplishments, Dr. Kim has built the Kim Center as a response to a realization that happened in 2016, recognizing that it was time to help women reach success without working harder than men. The Kim Center focuses on achieving equal status for all gender identities through the workplace by utilizing data and collaboratively designing and implementing actionable plans for employers and communities in the micro and macro levels. So we have included links to their website and their social media platforms in the description, so that way you can follow them and continue to support the Kim Center. So, Dr. Kim, would you be so kind to start off the conversation and share a little bit more as to what led you to creating the Kim Center for Social Balance?
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to be here, and thank you very much, Amanda, for asking me to speak. The Kim Center, as you said, was founded to ensure that all genders and races and ethnicities, basically employees of all backgrounds, achieve equal status. And we're a long way off from that. And it's taking too long. So I founded the Kim Center in 2016 with a very structured, integrated program to, just like any fitness or health plan, you need data, you need a commitment, you need expertise, and then you need accountability. And so we devised a program to make sure that employers are able to stay on track. And this is not only for the sake of the employees, but for the employers themselves. It's very hard to create and then implement and then track the progress of a program, which, let's be fair, is to change culture. So we're here to help them so that when employees are empowered, they have an environment in which to exercise that empowerment.
Great, thank you so much. So my next question is if you could elaborate on the success of the Gender Leap program with the assessment in the playbook, because it really makes the transition easier for business owners and companies to make changes in their corporate structure as it relates to gender equality.
Yeah, we're really excited about how well Gender Leap is working. The assessment is really useful for several reasons. It allows employers to effectively and efficiently address their culture needs because it defines gender equity for them. And to be clear, when I say gender equity, most people think women, and there's a very good reason for that. We actually kind of need to stop apologizing for addressing women's needs, because women are the largest marginalized group in every population, whether you're talking about race or ethnicity or disability status or veteran status. And they are the one group whose equitable status, improvements in equitable status, actually improves the status of all other groups. So basically, you're solving for the most problematic group. I mean, they're not the most problematic, but you're solving for the group that has experienced issues and challenges since the beginning of time. And that benefits family, that benefits society, it benefits the bottom line of any company and any region. So, why not start there? We do analyze at all those intersections: race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, veteran status, and disability status. And the assessment itself results in 4 composite scores as well as more detailed analyses. But these 4 composite scores make things really easy to understand at first at the high level. So they represent workplace environment, advancement and compensation, uh, policies and organizational support, and then supervisor relationships. And these are metric areas that were identified through extensive research, academic research that we partnered on with UC San Diego. So, we went through an academically rigorous process. And once the employer has this data, I mean, it really gets really robust once they start doing multiple assessments. So, even in their second year, now they have points of comparison. But even with the first one, it really informs their playbook. And every playbook is a custom process and collaborative. But it really does need to be custom. I would say, I would point out actually that 75%, at least, this statistic is a couple of years old, but 75% of diversity trainings are failing or making things worse. And one of the reasons is the lack of customization, the out-of-the-box solutions, not understanding your audience, making things mandatory, not involving all stakeholder groups. So if you only train managers, for example, and you don't pay attention to the rest of your staff, or very key, you don't start with your leadership, then you're going to very, very likely start moving backwards. So it's very important to start with your own data so that you can move into your own playbook. And we've had already, even in our early, even though we're in the earlier stages, we've seen our clients benefit from understanding, for example, that there needs to be better allyship between men and women, for example. There tend to be very different perceptions of the levels of discrimination or bias between men and women, or especially men, men from everyone else, basically. And that's really important because men, whether they're white men or men of other backgrounds, are really key when it comes to being allies. And there are plenty of men out there who are allies, but they need the space to help, the permission to help, and they need guidance because it is very easy to misstep. And even, other genders, it's women, it's easy to misstep. So that's where we come in with the playbook stage, and we work out strategies, very targeted strategies, to help the employer bring in all the stakeholder groups in a unified strategy, overarching strategy with roles, specific roles, goals, and especially timelines. So it's one thing to say, by 2030, we're going to have X number of, women in our C-suite. Well, okay, but how does that fit into the larger picture? So really, you need a 1-year goal, a 3-year goal, and reassess every year. And actually, then there is a third piece to the Gender Leap program, which is an accreditation for companies, and that's based on the assessment scores. So again, it's a fully integrated program. It's very, it's very clear from day one to the client how they're going to proceed, what the steps are. And the accreditation is intended to standardize accountability across industries, regions, and time. Over the past few decades, since we started measuring equity in the workplace, we've been measuring apples to oranges. One report uses one set of metrics, and another report uses another set of metrics. And I'm not saying one set is better than another, as long as they're academically researched, but we just need one. And this has been a gap in the landscape, not only the designing of the metrics in a tool, in one tool, but connecting that to the accountability piece. And that's why our accreditation is going to be, we're working on building it right now. It's going to be national, and we will provide on our, we will provide the databases that have the benchmarks. So by industry, by region, and then certainly over time.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. And it's so important to have your focus on the data as it pertains to individual companies and organizations, and making it very specific to that organization you're working with. Love that. And then with your new expansion, your growth, and trying to make your assessments more on a national level and working on scaling it, I saw that in your 2019 annual report. Board President Pamela Gray-Payton, she wrote that the next goal for the Kim Center is to expand into, of course, the other cities and regions to utilize this framework. So as you mentioned a little bit, but could you share maybe your next few more specific goals that you have for the next steps in hoping to implement this?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So Gender Leap works within companies, but the idea is to scale it from the company level to the regional level, because research is very clear that if you want to make widespread cultural transformation, you need focused local effort. For that, you need focused local data. So, so we're thinking as far as the national level, because really, how much hubris can you have to say that what works here works in other countries? You need to go through the whole research process again to ask the appropriate questions. And even between regions and within regions, I mean, San Diego County alone, we have so many different cultures, so many different influences between the border and all branches of the military and our large refugee population. But the idea is to take Gender Leap and apply the assessment and the playbook tools to the regional level. So this is something that we're working on deploying hopefully by the end of 2021. We're working with local leaders right now to raise awareness and inspire participation by employers to establish the first ever baselines for workplace equity for San Diego County. And I have to say, I think they're the first regional baselines in the country and in history, which is actually why the Kim Center was created. I mean, I was looking for this information to be able to even form my own opinions. And I thought, how can you make progress if you don't know where you are, much less, inform where you need to be and how you're going to get there. So then after we establish the baselines, our goal is to work with those local leaders representing all the different stakeholder groups again, to create a local playbook that reaches, well, so on the regional level, we reassess every 3 years. And so then every 3 years, this playbook would also be reassessed. And so the idea is, let's set 1-year goals, 3-year goals. And we'll have, again, the roles and the goals and the timelines for employers as a whole, for associations, unions, foundations, government, everyone. Everyone has a role. Anyone who touches employment at all, and even beyond actually, will need to have a goal. And then we do have the larger goal of really saving the world, so to speak, because when you increase the upward mobility of people, of marginalized groups, you improve the bottom line, so to speak, of their communities. So it works the same way as it does within companies. And so we want to work with, we want to correlate the improved equal status to improved economic, like GDP, economic output of communities, as well as reduction in related issues like domestic violence, human trafficking. I mean, they all go back. Yes, it's a fluid thing, but they all go back to employment. When you have, recidivism, for example, a lot of it is because they couldn't get jobs. and now I'm straying. But you asked about the next plans. We have a lot of next plans.
That's amazing. Well, that's work that needs to be done, and that's amazing that you saw, wait, where is this didn't exist, so might as well just create it myself.
Yeah.
Solve the problem.
I should mention that we're currently working on a project with seed funding from County of San Diego to establish, um, assess the financial impacts of COVID on vulnerable business owners
Mhm.
as a first step, then model the impacts of those challenges, the consequences of those challenges on San Diego's regional economic recovery as a whole, if we do nothing, both in the short term and the long term. And then finally, to collaboratively create recommendations for a united community response. And this will be so critical for obviously helping people who are in trouble right now as soon as we can, because there are a lot of people who never were able to take advantage of the stimulus funding, for example, opportunities that were offered. And then also, we hope to create a template for future crisis response
Mm.
so that the next time, and there will be a next time, as we now know, the next time there's a crisis, there isn't this huge lag before we take care of those we're supposed to be supporting.
Absolutely. Wow. How has the feedback been from different business owners and local governments in San Diego as you are approaching them with your gender leap assessment and putting it into a regional model?
We're receiving a lot of enthusiasm from both employers and local leaders. It's a little bit, it's a lot to wrap your head around
Mm.
if you're being presented with the concept of gender leap for the first time, because all the components make sense, but it sounds like this massive, commitment, which it actually isn't. If you just want to go as far as getting that assessment, especially now we're in the early adopter phase, so we're only charging at cost for everything until the end of July. And this is an opportunity for us to create new partners in different industries and really refine the tool to make sure that, in addition to fulfilling the mission, it speaks to the employers. And every industry is a little bit different. So, and employers of different sizes have different needs. Our outcomes are all going to be the same, but the way we get at them are going to be a little bit different depending on what we learn with the help of our partners in this. Government officials have been very enthusiastic, and I think a lot of it is because we are coming in with a ready-made plan.
Mm.
We're my background is as an educator, and I am used to making things as absolutely easy as possible for those I'm trying to educate or help or whatever. And so here we are. We know that the program makes sense. It's based in research. We know that it works. It is helping our clients, and we have the plan to scale. And once we scale to the regional level, we will replicate it in other regions throughout the country. That's our our intention, to make sure that we have national cultural transformation. So my hope is that this feature will actually bring us to the attention of more leaders and more employers.
Awesome. I cannot wait to see the progression and the growth. Oh, so awesome.
Thank you.
And also, yeah, and I saw too that in your goal for 2021 that the Kim Center will be partnering with University of California, San Diego Extension on doing a certification program, or completing it within the next 2 years. So is there any information you'd like to share about that specifically? And I'm also curious to know who you think would benefit from a certification course, or who might you like to see attend the courses?
I'm excited about this as well because this is part of our scaling plan. The Kim Center is one entity, and if we were to become a consultancy, we could serve only so much as, at a time. unless we decided to open a million branches across the country. But why do that? Because, and one of our core principles is not reinventing the wheel. There are so many talented providers, individual providers out there already. All we need to do is make sure everyone is on the same page. So the purpose of the certification is to provide licensed access to the Gender Leap tools, as well as again, bringing everyone onto the same page and providing that extra education in how to analyze the assessment results, and then how to develop a playbook out of that and lead a client ultimately, or region ultimately, to accreditation. And the beautiful thing about the accreditation in being standardized is that in a way, it almost doesn't matter how you get there as long as you get there. So it's a built-in tool for holding the providers accountable in addition to the employers, as well as holding the Kim Center accountable. If our certification, for example, isn't helping companies get to accreditation, we need to, work on what we're delivering, the education that we're delivering. But of course, we know we'll get there. And so, yeah, the individual providers can be independent consultants, or they could be employees of, Gender Leap companies that are applying Gender Leap, or regions that are applying Gender Leap. It could be someone from human resources within a municipality, or the DEI director of a company. And this is their way of bringing Gender Leap completely in-house. So now they can operate on their timeline, their budget. And yes, absolutely, you need a budget. This is a business priority. This is not a nice to have. If you want to compete, workplace equity is coming, and companies that embrace it will do better than companies that don't.
Completely agree. And then with on your website, you have so much information that people can check out that goes really into depth as to what goes in the playbook, in the assessment, and what organizations you're currently working with, and also how to get involved and to continue to support. Is there any additional information that you'd like to share about the Kim Center or anything like that?
I would just like to say that the Kim Center's mission is the workplace equity mission. It is the only reason we exist. So, in supporting us, bring Gender Leap into your company, bring Gender Leap into your region, support it in any way you can, whether it's writing to your regional leaders, or approaching your employer, or if you are the leadership, approaching your team and saying, how about bringing this in? We need to know where we are so that we can all get involved and make this happen. Of course, we're a nonprofit, so donations are always welcome. We have a number of community sponsors that we're thrilled to work with, SDG&E included, several of the unions. We have support from foundations, as well as County of San Diego has been a huge supporter, the supervisors. And then you can also sign up as a member, and it's totally free. The only reason we do that is so that we can send out information, important information, through our e-blasts. But we have something on the website called the Gender Equity Wiki, and it is what it sounds like. It's intended to provide education and inspiration to those who are looking to improve their knowledge base, or even create a knowledge base about workplace equity, and or try to figure out what the next steps are. So we have a lot of data. We have even inspirational stories. We have a little section for our young, what kind of movies do you want to show them? What kind of, like, Hidden Figures, right? What kind of books do you want them to read? What will increase their understanding that they deserve to be empowered? And financially empowered is a huge element of being empowered in this day and age.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. I am just amazed, and the time has come for this to be implemented in day-to-day workplaces. And I completely agree that um, businesses that incorporate the Gender Leap program, or at least have a solid process for gender equality and equity in their company, are going to succeed in the future. So
Yes.
I am just, I am just so pumped. So with that, thank you so much. I have a brief presentation to share about the Sustainable Development Goals, and also how the Kim Center, uh, through their work, really embodies the work of the Sustainable Development Goals and the mission. Okay, so today we are with, again, Dr. Kim from the Kim Center for Social Balance, and looking at gender equality as it is changing the narrative in the workplace and in communities. So the Sustainable Development Goals, there are 17 goals, and they are a part of the Agenda 2030, which is the Sustainable Development Initiative. And this is supported by all UN member states. It started in 2015 and are continually progressing forward with these goals. So many of the Sustainable Development Goals connects to the mission of the Kim Center, but I've chosen to highlight a few Sustainable Development Goals that really resonate with their work. I also have some tips that you can do at home to help promote the Sustainable Development Goals on a local level. So first we have SDG 1, which is no poverty, and that's to end poverty in all of its forms everywhere. And to support this goal at home, for your birthday, you could ask for donations to your favorite charity, or celebrate by doing a fundraiser for an organization. And with online and Facebook, this is so much easier to do now. So I definitely recommend doing that. We have SDG 4, which is quality education, to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And something that you can do at home is to share your skills with someone, if that's volunteering or supporting somebody in your community. That's one way that you can really support this goal on a local level. And then we have SDG 5, of course, gender equality, achieve gender equality and empower all girls and women, especially all gendered individuals. And one thing you can do to support here is to reflect on how gender equality is discussed in the home. So take a moment to reflect the messaging and how you communicate that, because one of the importance of this goal is that it does start in the home. And then we have SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, which is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all. And something you can do to support this goal is to reflect on the young professionals in your workplace and help support them grow with the company or grow in their career, essentially be a mentor. So we have SDG 10, reduce inequalities, which is to reduce inequality within and among countries. And something that you can do here to support this goal is to share the message in social media and in conversations about equality in terms of excuse me, I have to redo that one. Here we go. So we have SDG 10, reduce inequalities, which is to reduce inequality within and among countries. And an effort to support this is that you can stop stereotypes at its tracks and share messages on social media or in conversations that promote understanding among all races, religions, and belief systems and cultures. And then lastly, we have SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And one way you can do this is to learn more about the cultural heritage of the place that you live. So visit heritage sites and get to know your community. Okay, and with that, I like again to thank Dr. Kim for taking time to chat with us today about the Kim Center for Social Balance, all the great work they're doing, and to talk about how the Sustainable Development Goals are important, not only on an international level, but also on a local level. So with that, thank you so much, and check out the descriptions where you can learn more about the Kim Center and follow them on social media.